Good evening. Ooh, that was a new intro. I like that. Welcome to Spirit Connections here at WCTV Studios every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. How are you guys doing? I'm always waiting for a reply, and there is no crowd.
Yeah, clap track.
That's the next thing, Warren. Clap track.
Okay.
Clap track. Well, it's November. We had Robin Curtin on last week. Steph.
Yes.
We had Robin on last week, the spiritual astrologer, who's going to be joining us monthly to talk about what's going on between the planets or the astrology, zodiac wheel, all that good stuff, which always seems to be a popular show because everybody likes to know about themselves, including us Aries.
Yes.
Yes.
You're both Aries?
Yes.
Both Aries, yeah.
Interesting.
I, me.
Tiff.
Tiff. World revolves around this girl right here. It's not that I mean to. It was funny. The way that she described it, the way Robin described it, I don't know if she said it on the show or if it was, I did a fundraiser with her this past Sunday, and she was describing Aries, and she was saying, Aries are like they're the baby, they're the infant of the zodiac wheel. And, you know, babies, they cry. They cry usually because they need to be fed or they have to go to the bathroom. And they're selfish. But when you think of a baby, you don't think, oh, that's a selfish baby, or that's pretty rude, that baby's crying, that's rude. It's all innocent. And so
Nobody likes a barker.
right, nobody likes a barker. That's what I was saying with I have a new dog, Chloe, and she barks, and I always tell her, Chloe, nobody likes a barker, because
As if the
who
dog
does?
can
Yeah,
understand.
who does? She'll learn, though. She'll learn, and then I give her a look, and she understands. And then she
Okay.
poops in the corner.
So back to Aries.
Back to Aries. Yeah, so that was kind of her analogy, is that Aries, it's always I am, but it's all innocent. It's not just the like intentional, like I need to be selfish because it's all about me, and it's not that. It's just that's the first thing we think
that,
of.
But unintentional.
Right, it's innocent. Exactly.
Is that what they told you?
That's what I'm going with. That's my cop-out.
We were
That's how I
discussing
justify
this
it.
because we're both Aries, but we're both extremely different. So the way that she describes it is, yes, you're Aries, that's your sun sign, but there's a moon sign and different planets that all mix into it. So like one of her moon signs is Scorpio, so that changes her Aries a little bit. So it was
Virgo, double V.
Oh, sorry, Virgo, not Scorpio.
Double V.
So
Is that
Okay.
you?
So we were trying to figure out like where the two of us differ and why is it that we get along, since Aries, obviously, we have the little horns, so we should be butting heads, but we
I
don't.
see.
Instead, it's just more like a comedy show. So
I'm dying to know what yours is.
me
so.
too, because it shouldn't be happening, but it's happening, so it's kind of funny.
Right. So we'll find out. Hopefully the next time when Robin's
Yes.
on, we'll find out so you guys can know. Because I'm sure you guys want to know why Steph and I get along so well.
Yeah,
I'm
I'd
sure
love to
that's
know.
what you think about when you go to bed at night. I wonder why. How does
obviously.
that work? How does that work?
Obviously.
Wow.
Yeah, that's kind of, that's it.
This is what we've grown to expect from you.
Yes, we
Yes.
just kind
Absolutely.
of talk about things.
That's
Aren't you
right.
glad to be stuck in the middle right now?
What are you, Mike? What's your sign?
I'm a Cancer.
You're Cancer.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I
hard on
really
the
am.
outside, but soft on the inside.
Sure. And I also go the long way around to try to make a point. I never go direct to the point. I always halfway around, and then I go, oh, that's what I meant to say.
And you're actually super, super sensitive when you get to know you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, like,
I'm a big softie.
yeah, you're a big soft.
Okay.
Like the crab, because that's what Cancers are.
Mm-hmm.
Hard on the outside and then
That's
soft
what we learned last week.
inner
so-
belly. Soft inner belly. I'm just kidding.
I'll understand if you want me to move over.
Yeah, you know,
To get a little
fine.
So we have-
That's fine.
The Cancer we have on today is Mike Markowicz. You were on last October. You were, I think, my second guest here at the studio.
Yeah.
And
I can't believe it's been that long.
I
It
know.
has been a while.
When you stand up, how tall are you, 6'4"?
Yeah, 6'3".
6'3", yeah,
6'3". Yeah.
giant.
I'm shrinking.
Equals giant to me.
Yeah.
5'2". But as you guys know, for Spirit Connections, I'm constantly taking pictures taking pictures of myself and my guests and Steph. And when we posted the picture of Mike and I, everybody was like, "Who's the giant?" Because you know,
It
the
looks
height
as though-
difference.
yeah.
It almost looked kind of awkward, but. Oh well.
You learn to deal with it. You know, actually, people who are 6 feet tall are a little bit more rare. The more you get over 6 feet tall, the more rare it becomes. I'm like, I don't know, 1.5 million or something that actually gets to be at least 6'3". So it's one of those things.
Well, especially the South Shore, because we have a huge Portuguese population, and they tend to run on the Italian tend to run on the shorter side. You know?
Yeah. I know, I'm Polish.
Yeah. See,
You know?
that's why. Minority. But anyway.
Yeah, that's exactly what caused my height. I'm a minority. Exactly.
Well, Mike, I'm totally getting off track. Mike is the EVP specialist that Stephanie and I work with all the time. What's an EVP? What's an EVP, Mike?
Well, the audience should know by now, I hope.
We all should hope, but-
Electronic voice phenomenon, those are those voices that show up on your recordings that apparently weren't there at the time that you recorded them. They come back when you listen to them. And there's been some fascinating recordings with that regard. Voices, different sounds, different interactions, and it's become a very big field in the paranormal now. It's you know, it's just absolutely exploded.
Now, how would one catch an EVP?
Well, most people would buy a digital recorder and just start asking questions, and just put your recorder on, ask questions. You give it about 10, 15 seconds, and ask another question, and then you can go back and listen to see if you get an answer. There's different methods, different techniques that people have used throughout the years and continue to use. You find one that works for you, and you stick with it, and you start getting the results.
And it's not just for the ghost hunting paranormal community, because I know when I do readings, a lot of times people will ask if they can record it.
Sure, because you never know what you're going to get.
Exactly. So you don't have to be in a creepy basement or
Right.
something that might be or seem to appear to be paranormal or haunted, so to speak. It could be actually doing a reading, or it could be doing a walkthrough, going
That's
to
right.
a historical
Absolutely.
location and click on that recorder.
You could probably record our show right now and probably hear all kinds of
Yeah,
stuff.
Oh
Absolutely.
yeah, I'm surprised
Absolutely.
we don't do it now.
That's a good experiment. We should do that.
I did it
Record
once.
it on the
Did
phone.
you?
Can you record it
Yeah.
on your phone?
It's not the same as the
yeah,
fancy
it's not the same.
equipment.
No.
But yeah, I've done it. I done it before. I had an interview once in a radio station, and I recorded it, and I played it back. And right before it started, there's a man's voice that came in. I can't remember what he said, but it was in a studio that was, almost soundproof, and clear as a bell. There's a man's voice saying something. I can't remember what it was, but it was definitely there. And I was like, wow, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
So
Now, how long
No
have you
matter where
been? Sorry.
I was gonna say, just no matter where you go, you're gonna capture them. To your point, you're absolutely right.
Now, how long have you been doing this for?
8 years, actually 8 years this month.
Wow. Oh,
Yep,
happy
yep.
anniversary.
Thank you
And you
very
have a
much.
book out.
I do. EVP, Electronic Voice Phenomenon, Massachusetts Ghostly Voices.
Now, does that come with
A CD.
It does come with a CD.
Oh yeah. There's over 85 clips or so that you can play along as you read through the book. And it's a great book for someone who's starting off in this field, because I put so many different examples in there of how EVP sounds that you can listen to over and over and over again, get used to hearing it. And it's important to recognize it, because the more you recognize it, the more you're going to hear on your recordings, and the more things are going to happen for you.
Well, a lot of times, too, I know Steph and I have both been on an investigation with you, or a walkthrough, whatever you want to call it. And if we go back and just listen to the audio without you saying, hey, there's an EVP, it's very easy to have your ears matrix. You're so used to hearing a white noise, because a lot of times, besides doing EVP work, it's usually quiet. So you get your ears used to the white noise, and you actually really need to
break through
pick
it.
up.
You need to break through
Right.
it and recognize where it is.
Right.
Yeah, and I mean, there is something to be said with strength as far as their voices go. Most of it is whisper, and it gets lost in the sound of walking, the sound of your clothes, the sound of other people talking. But this is the thing. It's everywhere. That sound is everywhere, just in the natural rhythm of your everyday existence, of you just moving through your home, doing dishes, pouring milk into your cup. That sound is really good for picking up EVP. This kind of sound, that high frequency, is where most of 99% of your EVPs lie. It's the whisper.
Well, I believe you were at the Fearing Tavern, where you were in the basement, and Matt Moniz was with you, and he was shuffling his feet across the basement floor.
Oh yeah, that's a crazy
And you
one.
ended up catching this phenomenal EVP
Yeah.
of someone almost admitting to a murder.
Oh yeah, if you take it literally, that's absolutely what it is.
Now, not all, sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to let you guys know, not all EVPs are something that would be negative or
Correct.
anything.
Correct.
But in this particular case,
Yeah, it was just an admission of murder, and it's, again, over the sound of a foot sweeping dirt off of a cement floor. So in that case, it's that same sound. And for that particular moment, it became very rich with EVP, and also perfectly synchronized with his foot on the floor. How that happens, we don't know, but it was absolutely perfectly matched. In fact, you don't hear his foot on the floor at all. You just hear the voice carried on top of it, really sucking the sound out of the foot on the floor, on the dirt, masking that sound. But it's like that voice took its place perfectly. It's really crazy.
and it's a no-brainer. You can hear exactly what you're saying. So
Oh yeah.
it's not.
Oh yeah. And it's the same thing if you're walking through leaves. You know, you have your recorder on, walk through leaves. All of a sudden, you're going to hear, oh my God, listen to that. There's voices in there. I've done that too. Everything I've done works. Every device I've used to record, you get EVP. Any method, white noise, the TV, people in a distant room, it all works. It all reforms, and all of a sudden, bam, there it is.
Now, of course, Mike brought his EVPs with him, but I want to get to that a little bit later. I want to ask you a couple questions. First of all, and Steph, if there's questions in the chat room, if you guys have questions, definitely get into the chat room. Just let me know too. So, do you think there are particular places that you may find more EVPs, or is there a technique that you do that you might be able to get more EVPs?
I think old places. I really, really like old houses the best.
Okay.
It just seems to really proliferate this stuff. For me, that's how it works. For somebody else, it could be different. It could be anything. It could be the zoo for them. I mean, who knows? You know, it's just a matter of recognizing them and becoming very, very familiar with it. Basically, understanding your subject. The more you understand your subject, the more you're going to get in touch with it. So for me, old houses, because so much life has gone on in those old homes. So many people have lived and died in those homes that I think a lot of people like to return to it. You know, so that for me is definitely it. As far as the technique goes, just a good audio recorder and nice quiet equipment. That's all.
And I noticed for me, earphones.
Yeah, headphones.
Headphones,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah. I like full size headphones. Something that's a reference grade if you can afford it, because it's going to pick up that detail, which is where this stuff mostly lies. You know, once you get used to hearing the whispers embedded in the sound of the wind, embedded in the sound of leaves and whatnot, these whispers that come through, you just start recognizing that, and you become familiar with that. When a spoken voice happens, oh, you pick it right out. It's so simple. It's like child's play after a while.
Right.
You know,
Right, because you become accustomed
you
to
become
it.
accustomed to it.
And you open yourself up because you understand that life doesn't end here. It continues on.
Correct, and
So-
that's one of the things. People who are in this field, we assume that these are spirits that we're dealing with. Myself personally, that's absolutely what it is. I've had way too many experiences with this stuff to say otherwise. So if it's a spirit that you're communicating with, and you're trying to, which pretty much every paranormal investigator does, they get out their digital recorder and they say, can you talk to me? Can you use my energy? Can you make a noise? Can you answer me? And you ask question after question, hour after hour, hoping to capture something. So you're trying to bridge that gap. You're trying to make that veil thin, and you're trying to communicate. You're trying to bring something forth from another dimension into your space to communicate with it. That can be tricky. That can be scary, and it could also be fruitful, and it can give you some some good messages as well. And a lot of people I don't think know how to go about getting that veil thin, if they want to do it. Because once you make the veil thin, you kind of have to live with it if you want to continue doing this kind of work, because you can't go back. You have to move forward with it. So if you find yourself being haunted, you got to deal with it. If you find yourself hearing little whispers in your ear, you got to deal with it, but you got to keep moving on.
It changes your life.
Yeah, it does.
It does, and
Yes,
not
it
to
does.
sound dramatic about it, but it's true. Like once
Yes, it
you
does.
have that, I always say, and I'm sure Steph, you can agree with me, when someone gets receives a reading from us, or even with you doing walkthroughs with us, when it touches someone personally, you have that aha moment, and that's
Yes.
when you're like, I get
Absolutely.
it, and now you can't deny it. You have to
That's right.
accept it
Right,
and
on
move
top
forward.
of it, during those type of moments, you don't expect it either.
Right.
So that makes it even more aha
Right.
than anything.
Yep.
Exactly.
It's crazy. That's one of the things. EVP is kind of like a diamond. A diamond has many facets, and just like a diamond is to the to the precious stone world, it's held up very high. Well, EVPs have to be held at that same in that same perspective, and they also have many facets. The human voice coming from a different place into your recorder in a manner that you can understand is done so intentionally. And sometimes it's not intentionally, sometimes it's bleed over, but for the most part, the stuff is done intentionally. So you have to pay attention to it. And I think that if you pay attention to it long enough, those other facets start opening up. And now you get this, the way the spiritual world really is starts to open up inside you before you get there.
Right.
So you start getting things like clairaudient. You start hearing things. You think you're crazy at first, but that's only because you recognize the way they sound. So when you have headphones on and you're listening and you're picking these things up left and right, well, guess what happens when you take the headphone off? It continues in your life as you walk through your own life. When you wake up and before you go to bed, you're hearing stuff. That's just a natural process. And this is one of the things that you have to be prepared to live with as you progress forward in EVP research.
Well, I know with Steph, that's second nature to you, because you've always heard things outright, right?
Yes.
Because I know you've seen things, but you've heard things.
Yep.
But it's funny because with Mike, we were actually at Fort Tabor, and he was walking around with us, and he said to us, "You guys, you have to listen to this. You have to listen to this." First, you hear he was by himself walking around, and he says, "I'm sorry, I can't help you now." And
Oh, I could hear beforehand what
The
What he
female
heard.
spirit.
but
Yeah.
it was interesting to have Mike actually
hear
hear it and then
live.
say,
Yeah, you hear it
I-
live.
exactly. So we could hear it in an EVP, but with Mike, he heard it live, so he's already answering it.
Yeah, and
But
recording
nobody
it.
else, it didn't match up. It wouldn't have been anybody at this location.
No.
Anybody that was living, and it
No,
just
somebody
it didn't.
that's crying out for help.
Right.
Yeah, that's what
you
it
would have
was.
heard that, because
Right.
Yeah.
everybody was just enjoying themselves.
Well, it was
going
very,
on
very
tour.
windy and cold.
Yes.
And so the wind's blowing, and all of a sudden I hear the whisper come through my headphones, a woman saying, "Hold me."
Yeah.
And that was obviously very strange and unusual. But again, when you get to hear the stuff, it hits you in a certain spot. And
Yes,
you go,
it
"Oh, here we
does.
here
You
we
know
go."
the
Yeah.
difference.
It is a little bit different. It has
Yep.
a certain feel to it. And so then I kind of was like, "Oh, here we go." And then she said, "Help me."
Yep.
And I'm like, "Oh my God, here we go." And I said, "Well, I can't help you." And she says, "Again," like she's let down, like,
Yeah.
no one's going to help me, and it.
Do you have
very
that?
quick.
Do you have that?
I could probably bring it up. However, the file, because it's very windy and the nature of the whisper,
Oh, it might not be
when I
able to-
raise it up so that you can really hear it, there's a lot of hiss. And I know that going through the system in the studio here, by the time you end up hearing it, the sound is degraded
Okay.
just a little too
Yeah.
much. However, it's very, very interesting when it happens live. And now I'm finding that every time I record live, I'm hearing at least 2-3 times hearing live EVPs. We've shared this
Yep.
before. In fact, the first investigation that Steph and I did, I didn't have the headphones on, I just had my recorder. And then a man's voice from a corner says, "The dam is open." And I looked at her, she looked at me,
Yeah.
"Did you hear that?" I said, "Yeah, I heard it too." I was
We
like,
both
"Wow."
start moving closer to each other because this place is like pitch dark. You can't even see anything in front of us. We're walking around in the dark. It's just the two of us. And I think the camera was probably like 20 feet behind us, like out in the hallway. And we're like, who's in the corner? Like, what's going on?
That was
Me,
cool.
I hate the dark. I am terrified of the dark. So I'm looking around like, is Mike the only one in here?
I think you're afraid of what's in the dark.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Because growing up as a child and being able to see physical everything, like being able to see spirits or what have you, makes you terrified to shut the lights off.
Yeah.
Like, to this day, when my husband travels for his job, I sleep with the lamp and the TV on. And I was just explaining to him this morning. He said something to me about something to do with our room. I said no, and he was trying to make it seem like I wouldn't be able to see. And I said no, actually I sleep with the TV and the light on. I just told him after 5 years of being with him. Like when you travel for your job, I have every light on in the house because it's terrifying.
The electric bill goes up in the month that you're away. Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like I sense it and you see it. I always say the location
And I
that
hear
you.
it.
Yeah. We were all the three of us were together. There was a location near him that we went to, and there was a room, and it was on the second floor, and I walked right in. Like,
Oh God, yes.
I said, I'm like, oh, there's men in here. And I walked right in, and Steph was like, whoa, 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 don't you see it? And I guess one of them was coming right.
Yeah, it was flying toward me with an angry face on. And if I'm remembering correctly, you've been to this location.
I think he was with us that night.
No, he wasn't.
Oh.
It was Matt and Andy that
Oh,
took
okay.
us. And
Sorry.
I was already feeling kind of weird anyways because I was really, really sick at the time. And I was like, okay, I'm going to try my best because obviously our energy depletes and we kind of feel yucky. So all of a sudden I see this group of people and this guy come flying toward me. She's going like, la la la, just walking in the
I
room
just
like
go
no
right
big
in.
deal. I scream at the top of my lungs and I almost run over Andy Lake on my way out the door. Like I'm stumbling, I almost fall down the stairs and she's just still reading away in the room.
I'm like
and
right
I'm
in
like
the middle of the
hiding
room.
across
I'm like,
the hall.
there's 5 of them in here, but
No, it was
Well, there's
not
that
pleasant.
perception
Yeah.
thing again.
Yeah.
I mean, just like like you listen to an EVP, you'll hear layers.
Yes.
Because your brain is going to listen to only one thing at a time, but then it can shift a gear, and you're going to hear something else, and then it'll shift another gear, and you'll hear something else, and you start understanding that these things happen in layers, and there's certain opportunities that come in that when one spirit speaks, the door basically opens
Right.
up, and a bunch will come in and flow through, and then it closes, or at least ends for whatever reason. Psychic sight,
Yes.
telepathic sight is probably the same way, where you're looking ahead and you see something and you're seeing something else because maybe the wavelength may be a little bit different on what you're experiencing. There could be hundreds or thousands of years stacked on of life stacked
Absolutely.
on top, just like a radio frequencies, right? You turn the dial and you can hear different frequencies. Well, maybe your mind is the dial when you are doing these things telepathically or even hearing things audibly that if you pay attention to it in a certain way, you can change your own channel and experience different things.
it's almost like when we go into an area or before we do a reading, and I'm sure you're the exact same way, it's almost like lights on, time to go,
Yeah.
and we know what we're there to do. We're
Right.
there to communicate. You're there,
Yeah.
you serve a purpose. You're there to listen, you know, same with us, same.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's easy for us. I mean, yes, it can happen, say if we're at the grocery store, it can happen, but
When you
if-
set your intentions, and this is
Yes.
what I'm here at this location for. And I think it's funny too. In the past 5 years that I've actually like decided to do this professionally, obviously you change from point A to now, and even the three of us when we go out together, like. Especially working with you, Mike. Now, like, I can't vacuum my house without hearing voices.
Thinking about the
because,
voices.
well, I can actually hear them now, and it's because you opened up that door for me.
Excellent.
To
I think.
yeah, thank you.
I
I can't. Needless to say, I vacuum in the daylight. But it's funny because I was gonna vacuum last night. I'm like, no, it's dark out. Never mind.
No mind, no vacuum.
But
Honey,
it's
no, don't turn the vacuum on. It's dark out.
one
you
thing too
insane?
that completely I can't even stand near my husband when he does it. Like styrofoam, like in a cardboard box. If he's like packing up boxes, I'm like, bye,
yeah.
see you later, because I can hear it now. But
Yeah,
because
that's
you've
creepy.
opened up the idea to me that this happens. But it's the same thing where I opened up the idea to you is, hi, I see them physically.
That-
We
yes.
go to
Right.
Fort
I-
Tabor,
Yeah.
and Mike sees his first apparition.
That's a prime. Well, there.
Yeah, there.
Absolutely. I don't usually see things, not usually. But when you walked in, you said you looked over to your left and you said, "Oh, there's a woman over there. She's kind of creepy. She's just standing there looking at us." and then probably 25 minutes later, someone took a picture, and there standing next to you is a woman,
Yep.
long dark hair, big glasses on, thick rims, and she's just planted there with their hands down by her side.
I didn't see this picture.
Standing.
No,
Well, this is the
somebody-
thing. If somebody was at that investigation up on the second floor, taking a picture down,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was the light that.
That was the light
I
one.
don't know.
Okay,
I
all
don't
right.
know who that was, but if someone's watching that took that picture, you might want to check your pictures to see
Yeah.
if something
So
is
that
there.
was at Fort Tabor on October 12th.
Yes.
And that was amazing.
Legend Trips.
And it was just in the flash from the camera. There she was, just, just
that
standing
was such
next
a
to
funny
you.
experience because
I was like, wow.
I could feel something on the side of me, and just me being me, like, I don't need to see it to know it's there because I've dealt with this my whole life. I don't need to prove it to myself. So I'm like, I'm not turning around. Like, I don't think so. I'm in the middle. Like, if you guys have ever been inside the fort, I think they open it twice a year to the public. Inside the actual fort, it is pitch dark. You can't hear the
It's
ocean.
quiet.
You can't hear anything. So you barely hear the people walking around you. And
Yeah.
like, I can't see. Like, my flashlight's on, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh yeah, there's someone standing.
Yeah,
Like,
you
it
get
like
that
glued to
feeling.
the side of me, and I was like, not happening. I'm not doing it because I'm gonna end up screaming, and people are gonna think, oh my god, that's a fantastic EVP I just caught.
Yep.
So,
Well,
but
see, this is one of the things now. This is one of the facets of studying EVP. It's studying spirit.
yes,
Through you, I've been studying spirit in a different manner. However, it's all the same subject.
yes,
It's just a different chapter. So because, I've worked with you relatively extensive, I think because I've already got the book open, I think I'm learning in a unconscious way, subconscious way, how to see things, or at least connect in that respect. Because when your brain starts to work in a different manner of learning, it wants to go forward and it wants to learn. So once you've got this under your belt, there's another facet to be learned for the same subject, and I think that's probably what's happening.
yep,
And I know you said the same thing about audio. It's like we share it unknowingly, but this is all part of it, and this is part of some of the EVPs that I have as well.
right,
Now, if you want to get into that, my whole thing about unification, how spirits on the other side, if they combine together, they can communicate together, but sound is one person. But if you listen closely, you'll notice that, hey, guess what? There's all different people in there, but they're speaking in the same rhythm.
yep. It's
How are they able to
fascinating.
do that? Because they're linked together. The telepathic sense. So in this way, that's the natural way that people speak on the other side. I do have some examples of that.
The higher vibration.
Yeah.
That's
Now,
what
what does
it
that?
is.
Now, what does that mean for us as human beings? It means that we can do the same thing because we're part spirit.
Right.
We're just part human as well. So this whole telepathy thing can get going. As you know, you can pick up thoughts from people.
Well,
Yep.
even when we hear things, when we're doing readings or walkthroughs, we always say it's almost like someone's driving by us going 100 miles an hour shouting out a name or shouting out something, because we'll
Yeah.
try our best to be as detailed as we can, especially with names, but
Yeah.
a lot of times it'll get kind of meshed in together with something else.
Yes.
I did a fundraiser this past Friday night, and I kept on saying, I keep on hearing like Mary Bell, but I know it's not Mary Bell, but it's like Mariel, and I kept on repeating it, and they're like, I don't get it. And then they're like, oh, Mary Ellen. I'm like, okay. I just knew it wasn't Mary Bell, but I knew there was like an L somewhere, like a Mary L.
Yep.
And yeah, that's kind of what happens. It just meshes. But you get accustomed to that. And for those of you guys that are just joining us, we have Mike Markowicz on Spirit Connections tonight. He is the EVP Specialist, which is Electronic Voice Phenomena.
That's right.
And you have some EVPs to share with us.
I
But
do.
before we get into that, are there any questions in the chat room yet?
No,
Okay.
I'm
Quiet
gonna run
night.
into the control room quick while you guys play EVPs. I shall
Excellent.
return.
Okay.
Okay.
Oops, you're attached. Okay.
Okay.
So one of the interesting things about this is there really is a progressive nature to anything spiritual, and I think most paranormal investigators always want to make that veil thin. And I think that if you can get on on this natural progressive teaching that you can do for yourself, it'll lead to lots of different things. Intuition.
Right.
You're going to get some crazy intuitiveness out of this, where you're going to see things and feel things, and you're going to say to yourself, wait a minute, I better pay attention to that. And the next thing you know, bam, there it is for you. I've done this with meeting people. A door, I call it a door, and the door will open, and I say, well, do I want to go through that door or not? I actually can stand back and look at it and go, do I want to do that? Something's telling me I should do it. So I'll go ahead and open up that door, and I'll go meet these people, or go on an investigation, or I'll make the phone call, answer the email, I'll pursue it for whatever reason. And it just ends up to be really good, really, really good. I've met a lot of people, a lot of good friends in the field, and it's become, the paranormal field's become more rich by the people who I've met and the people that I have around me, and that is really important, to meet friends that you can grow with. But as far as EVPs go, there's an interesting,
I wish you guys could see the screen how I can see it. It's neat because it's like a it's like a heart monitor. You know how it goes up and down, up and down.
It's the classic view of
an audio
decibel. It's a decibel signature. The louder the signal is, the wider the spread in the what you see on the screen there. Now, this whole thing, what I want to discuss now is this whole unification theory that I have with, when spirits want to speak, when they want to communicate with you on the other side, and they are part, and they're sharing togetherness, they're linked together telepathically, their minds are all connected. Still an individual, but they're connected and they speak. You get this effect of choir-like singing, but they may be saying something. In this file here, this is an old file. I don't have very many of these because they're very rare. I mean, I do have some things that are spoken, but this kind of stuff is very rare, so I don't have very many. This one here, I have no idea what's being said, but there's singing, you can hear sopranos, and you can hear a woman speaking in the middle.
So this is an example of a unification type of EVP.
That's right. It's very quick. It's only like 3.5 seconds long. That was recorded with the lousy recorder, so I apologize for the sound quality, because I'm all about sound quality, but I'll play it again for you. There's a lot going on there.
Right.
It
almost sounds like there's organs in the background.
Yeah, it's creepy.
It does.
That was at in Hull, Massachusetts. Down at the end, there's an old fort down there called Fort Revere, and I recorded that with an older recorder at the time. And but here you go. You've got not just one person speaking to you. It's not a man, woman, or child. It's a bunch of people. Now, how can that be? What does that mean?
Like a congregation.
So you've got singing. You've got speech that's in there as well. Here's another one. In this one, you're going to hear what sounds like a boys' choir singing Hallelujah.
Ooh.
At the very beginning. It's light. And then you're going to hear a woman who's part of the investigative team say, because they all come in with their own procedure, something like that. But at the very beginning, you're going to hear this light boys' choir sing Hallelujah. And this was recorded on the edge of the Hockomock Swamp.
Because they all come in with the same procedure.
Ooh, play that again?
Because they all come in with the same procedure.
Now there's no explanation for that other than this was intentional. This is what we wanted to give. They wanted that to be in my recorder.
And you're in a swamp. So
I'm on the edge
of a choir in a swamp.
Edge of a swamp, Hockomock Swamp.
Can we play it one more time?
Sure.
Because they all come in with the same procedure.
That's just when I shut my recorder off for the night. So they got that in there just as
They know too.
Right.
So these kind of things, to me, it says that there is a type of unification that's involved in this. And one of the interesting things about this is that book that you have there. That book...
I'm afraid to pick it up because I don't want it to fall apart.
It's an old book. That book was made in 1838. and it's a piece of work by Emanuel Swedenborg. And I got a hold of it through a very strange way. And like they say, nothing, everything happens for a reason. And that's how that book got into my hands. And I ended up with it as a gift. And I didn't really dig into it too often or pay any attention to it or anything. I didn't read it. And then one day I opened it up, started reading it, found out who Emanuel Swedenborg was. And it blew my mind that he actually was describing this unification theory that I have about why my quotings sound this way. And if you want, I'll read this to you.
Sure.
It's just a small clip, small piece in here, but there's a lot to be said for what he is describing, and it's very, very interesting. He says, there is a speech of good spirits and of angelic spirits, composed of speech of several speaking at the same time, particularly in circling companies or choirs, concerning which, by the divine mercy of the Lord, more will be said elsewhere. The speech in choirs has often been heard by me. It is flowing as if rhythmical. They do not think either of words or ideas. Their meaning flows into these spontaneously, and no words or ideas flow into the discourse which multiply the sense, or divert to anything else, or to which there adheres anything artificial, or which seems to themselves elegant as proceeding from self, or from self-love, for this would immediately create disturbance. Meaning that if you deter from the task at hand, you're going to change it, and it's going to be something detrimental to the group that you're in. So he's basically describing the same exact thing that I believe is going on with these recordings. It's just that he died in 1772, and that's an unusual thing. This tells me that there's a certain amount of truth in what he was writing back then, and it pertains to everything that we're doing now in the field of EVP research, or at least
It's just
paranormal
validation
research.
after validation
Yeah,
after validation.
exactly.
And especially you had mentioned prior to before the show, back in 1772, prior to that, they didn't have these recording devices,
Right.
like it was just all
There's no
hearsay
electricity.
and-
They don't. Yeah, they don't have
It's
anything.
totally different.
So that's telling me that he made these journeys into the other side, probably through astral projection, and where he communicated with people, and he came back and wrote about it.
And it just continues on.
Phenomenal,
Always.
absolutely phenomenal. I was just blown away when I read that. I just put the book down. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
But that's telling me that there's truth that spans forever, and it's always going to be the same. So this is why I'm sticking to my guns.
See, and that's why it's so important. And I'm the last person to preach anything to anybody, but I think we all can agree that there is more out there than what ends our physical life here. We're constantly going into another avenue. We're just operating in a very higher frequency, higher vibration, but there's always ways to communicate somehow, whether it's through that
Unification.
unicorn.
Well, that's part of it. Well, that's just
Unicorn.
that's part of it, and that's choice. That's choice. To be part of somebody, I think, is extremely elegant on that side, because I believe that when you do link up with people like that, you're sharing in all their lives, their experiences, and you gain their consciousness, you gain their joy of their life that they had, and they share in yours as well. That's a scary thing for some people, because some people don't do good things,
Right.
and they're not willing to be part of that, so they become ghosts for us. These other things that happen, they're more direct and they're more purposeful for you. Things you see, things you hear, things like that nature, they're more poignant to you. But you got to accept it.
Well, like you had mentioned before, even before the show, it's good to go to a location that you are somewhat emotionally invested in. And I don't mean like pouring your heart and soul into something, but doing your research and seeing a little bit of the history. And,
Sometimes
or
it's
bringing
pertinent.
Steph and I along. That's
That's always a good
easy,
time.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. You have to have fun with this. You have to have a sense of humor. As you guys know, I'm a clown, so I'm always going to do something funny, say something, and just totally change the atmosphere, you know. But that's
That's
just
what we
my nature.
love.
Yeah.
Because it's awesome going along on investigations, period. But going
Yeah.
along with people that you trust and you're really good friends with, it just it makes it more special, I think.
Absolutely.
Like we show up and we have scratch tickets and chocolate. And
That's the
and
best.
That was the best part.
And we
But,
wear sweatpants. And
yeah, you can
There's
just
certain
go
points
and,
to
That's the
things. There's
thing.
things that
Yeah.
you need to achieve, and if you can alter things to get you the result that you want, then it's worth the alteration.
Absolutely. You go in with your intentions set and we're going to have a good time. We're going to get evidence. We're going to, it lightens the mood and it brings your
Yeah.
vibration up before you even walk in. So,
And then what happened when you walked in? It kind of just
Yeah.
went right in the toilet, didn't it?
Yep.
I like the
Yeah.
ones because
That was a
usually
fun one.
That was a
wherever we
creepy
go,
one.
we tend to eat,
Yes.
have like a snack break. And,
we have to. Raccoon.
and one of the EVPs that Andy Lake got, the Jasmine EVP.
Was
I
while
wish-
we were snacking.
Well, yeah, I was stuffing my mouth of cashews and drinking coffee, and it was
That was a good one.
That throaty jasmine.
yeah.
Yeah,
That was crazy.
Jasmine.
Yeah.
That's exactly
Yeah.
what it sounded like. It was a phenomenal EVP.
It was very good. And that tells me that thing was close. By simple proximity,
Right.
that
Yes.
voice was just
We'll have to
on
play it
that.
for you guys sometime.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was
We
crazy.
don't have it set up, but.
Yeah, I'll get it set up for you.
Now let me ask you this: out of all the locations you've been to,
Yep.
what do you think the most consistent location is as far as getting EVPs? Do you
That's
have
tough.
one?
Not really, because there's always something new. I've got two places I'm setting up right now, and after those are done, there's going to be 2 or 3 more. It never stops, so I don't get that many opportunities
So
to
it's hard to.
repeat.
Yeah, I was just going to say
Yeah.
for the reoccurrence.
Yep, I'm doing more and more. People will call me and just say, I got crazy stuff, would you mind coming over? My doctor called me and said, hey, everything's fine with you. By the way, I have a friend of mine who blah, 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 blah. So my doctor said, do you mind if I give you
That's awesome.
your name? Yeah, sure, go
funny.
ahead, absolutely. It's the nature of this thing. These doors that open up, and these are the things that you have to go through. And you have to give this stuff away.
Yep.
That way you can receive.
Yep.
If you don't give, you don't receive. That's one of the things.
Absolutely.
You don't hoard information. You give it all away.
Yep. Well,
But,
because we're in this big learning pool.
You see how I go off on tangents. The answer to your question is no. I told you I was a cancer. The answer is no. There is not any one place that I go back continually and just get more and more and more EVPs. It just naturally happens basically wherever I go.
I have a question because I know that you have certain connections to theaters. So because I've never been in a theater. Well, I mean, besides to perform. But
Oh my God.
I did. I took acting.
That's fine. That's completely
Yeah.
legitimate.
But I mean,
Okay, let's go. Spit it out.
so have you had great success at getting EVPs in theaters?
Absolutely. Churches.
Churches? I'd like
Churches,
to go into a
theaters.
theater.
In fact, my wife was telling me I should do a book on haunted theaters and put a CD in there.
I think that's great.
I've been in a bunch of theaters, and they're always very good. I've had microphones up on the stage, and I was sitting back with my headphones listening, and there's someone moving boxes and crates and wood. You hear things moving, and I'm looking at the stage, and there's nothing going on.
As you're telling me this, I'm thinking of a cover for your book. And
And it's got her picture on it.
Yeah,
me in like a hat? No.
opera coat.
No, Trig Photography. Frank Grace, who is always part of Legend Trips. He takes these phenomenal pictures. He does these pictures of, I don't know, you've probably seen them. They're of theaters. He's been to a few theaters and he does these. So I was thinking the cover of your book.
Yeah, you never
I don't know, I just thought
I like
of
to
it.
work with them because in the old days when I used to get filmed a lot. Some strange stuff on camera, light anomalies, orbs that, I mean, you'd have to see it to believe it. Pictures, and mostly the flying orbs. Pretty intense, some really crazy stuff. But
I know, Rise Up, especially Rise Up the Connecticut
Ken DaCosta.
region,
Yep.
and Ken DaCosta. They end up going to Connecticut all the time to do their theaters down there.
Yeah.
But
The Opera House.
I think we should set something up here, guys. Right now, today, before you walk out of here, let's set something up.
That was a fantastic, fantastic investigation.
I think she plans on holding you hostage.
That's good. You got to go there. You have to go to the Opera House if you get the opportunity.
But I mean, up
The
here.
EVPs,
What do you mean up here?
we're good.
Meaning, like, we can set up
Set up a
there,
trip?
like, for us, yeah.
Do our own
Oh,
legend
my
Do our
trip.
own legend trip. Our own private legend trip.
It's fantastic.
Before we run out of time, I do have a chat room question. They would like to know, what is the greatest number of EVPs you have ever gotten on one investigation?
That's a good question.
It was actually, and I believe it's true, right here in the studio.
Really?
I think it was just under 4 hours of recording, and I think it was 84 or 85 clips.
Wow.
And that was last October. We did that. October 13th or
Yep.
14th.
And it was just boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, that was a,
We had
that
a
was
great
crazy
group.
night.
We had
yeah.
a great group. That's
Remember the
why.
vault?
Yeah.
The crazy stuff coming out of that vault?
That was probably one of the most significant investigations I have ever done.
Crazy.
And it all happened on accident. And it's all because I saw someone standing in the studio, someone meaning not alive, the week before. And was kind of eyeing him throughout the whole show. Normally I sit over there in the corner and had this man standing there staring at me the whole time like it was no big deal. And then brought it up and it triggered an investigation here. And
Yeah.
I think everybody had a good time that night.
It was
phenomenal.
great.
It
It
was
was great.
phenomenal.
I'm thinking pizza, Swedish fish, and us.
That's usually how it goes
Yep.
with cherry Pepsi.
Yep, with cherry Pepsi and sweatpants.
It was good. That was a very,
We
very
could
good
do
night.
that.
I've
Well, we could ask maybe Warren if he would want to help out.
Do a part 2?
Okay, so
Part
he's giving
two.
us a thumb up. Thumb up? A thumb up.
Well, he only has one, so yeah.
yeah, really.
But yeah, I think that's great. So we now we got to work on the theater, and now, sorry,
So the opera-
I'm in my
the opera
planning
house-
mode. I
a list.
can't help it.
Mercury's in retrograde. That's what you're supposed to do.
We plan.
No, that was a good night. I remember I was actually really sick that night too. But
Yes, you were.
I kept taking breaks when I wasn't supposed to come running to the headquarters where Mike was. Give me your headphones. I want to hear what we're
Oh,
getting.
yeah.
'Cause
I wish you guys
it's
could
so
have seen-
exciting.
Do you remember the voice? I hear you clearly.
Yes.
Yeah.
That one and
That's creepy. That was very good, though.
that was actually like the first time the two of us conducted our own experiment of throw Tiff in the vault, but Steph won't be able to hear, and then throw Steph in the vault and Tiff won't be able to hear, and see if our information was
Right,
correct,
right.
and we matched up perfectly. So we kind of like started our own experiment before
We're
everybody
like
else wanted
we're
to.
like the
good.
psychic twins, but not twins.
We're just Aries.
You know the
Pair-
girls that do the automatic writing?
Yeah.
Yeah,
A pair of Aries.
yeah.
Yep.
We're
That's
just
what
the
we are.
Aries twins.
Yeah.
But it's cool because the way that I receive information is a different way than you do, but it still comes
Right.
out the same. So it's kind
Yep.
of cool.
Yeah, yeah. It's good stuff. It really is. It opens your mind up to different things, and yeah, it's good stuff.
It
It's
is.
an education, but like I said, you have to want to live with it. You obviously don't have a choice. You can't
I
shut
know
it
I
off.
don't. No, it's impossible.
And you want to see stuff more and more too.
I want to see.
I can't wait to see your face when you finally do. It's gonna look like Mike's.
Seriously, guys. Well, that's the thing. Like I said, we'll go into places, and I'm like, I'm going in. Like, yeah, I see them, but I'm just gonna go in and talk to them. And Steph's like, no, you don't. You know, and
Yeah.
it's just
Yep.
I even as far as hearing, I've only heard 2 things in my experience, and
Really?
one was at where I used to live in Bridgewater. I heard someone say, "Good morning,"
That's creepy.
and I was like, "Good morning," and then I'm like,
Wait
"There's
a
not
minute.
another girl in my bed," because it was
Yeah.
a girl.
Yeah.
And then
Lily can't speak
I know.
English. so-
Lillian, is that you? And then I was at Waverly Hills Sanitarium, and my friend Tracy and I were walking up the stairs, and we both distinctly heard a man go, and I looked and I go, "Was that you?" Like, "You okay?" And she's like, and we looked at it, and she's like, "No." And then of course we went to try to get some sort of recording device, but it was in between us
Yep.
recording, so we had nothing on. And I'm just glad that she was able to experience it as much as I did, but it just becomes a personal
Yeah, the
story.
audible
That's
stuff
right.
is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
It you have to experience it to really like realize.
To understand
Yeah.
it. When
Yeah.
it happens to you, then you understand. Have you ever had somebody like really in your head?
Oh, yeah.
That's a creepy feeling. A lot of people, most people haven't had that happen to them, but when it happens to you and it's like, boom,
Right.
it's creepy. It takes you out of
Right.
your comfort zone a little bit, but
Yep.
hopefully you'll be okay.
It's almost like an
Yeah.
obsession feeling because that's how strong it comes on. Like I
That's
could
bizarre.
be like, okay, I have this person in my mind, and this is what he's wearing, this is what he's telling me, and I
Mm-hmm.
can't get it out, can't get it out. I'll tell you, actually, this past week, I've been on this Alice in Wonderland kick, and I have no idea why, but I keep on getting the
Johnny
name
Depp?
Alice, Johnny Depp, yes.
Sorry,
But
I'm
but that's what it is. I keep everybody I talk to, I'm like, is there an Alice for you? Because she's
Yep.
very strong, but she's showing me like Alice in Wonderland, like the Alice in Wonderland Connect. It's the strangest thing. So I have had some connections with an Alice, but still the Wonderland part. I don't
never
know.
know.
I'm not.
You never
I'm
know.
not sure what.
Maybe you were Alice in a different life.
I wasn't even Alice for Halloween, but I just thought.
But things like this happen. Like, as you're saying that, I'm running through at least 3 or 4 scenarios in my head. We're going, oh, that sounds familiar. Oh, that sounds familiar. But it's because I keep ignoring it.
Right.
Because I am so used to it that I'm like, oh, that person's trying to talk to me again. And like, I push it off because it happens so frequently that like, it interrupts my everyday life. Like, I probably, if I truly listened all the time, I'd be that crazy lady in the grocery store going, shh, quiet, stop.
Yeah.
Like, because it always happens. And
Well, it's so easy for
And
us
it's not
too. Like,
schizophrenia because
no.
Okay.
even though
Just
I
checking.
tend to like shut it down and turn it on stuff,
See, I can't.
but it's so easy for me to like
I can shut
turn it
down.
on. Here we go.
And
You
it's
know,
not
and-
really shutting down. It's like
Yeah.
I can't
you
run.
kind of ignore it.
Yeah, I
I kind of
I've
do that
learned
myself
it.
too. Sometimes it happens without me knowing it. It's just bam, oh, there it goes.
Yeah,
Other
yeah.
times I'm like, hearing stuff isn't as bad as seeing stuff because hearing is mostly whispers. Except last
Unless
night.
you're alone in the dark.
Well, I have heard whispers. I can tell you that I have heard as if someone's having like a conversation in the other room, but it's still nothing that has been like this person actually said this to me. You know.
Oh yeah,
I've experienced the whispers.
I had that last night. I was at an event in Boston, and it was a crowded room, lots of people talking. And then all of a sudden, in my left ear, a woman says, "I lost my Jimmy." And I turned and looked, nobody there,
Who's
really,
talking to
and
me?
it wasn't my daughter. I mean, I was like, "Ooh, that was a really loud one." I haven't heard one like that
But it's funny
in quite
because
some
you're
time.
in a room full of people, but you know the difference between
and I
is that
can't-
right here
Yeah.
or is it?
Oh, it was
Yeah?
right in my ear, and it was phenomenal. It was
I have
really
an
good.
idea. I have an idea
What's your idea?
with the three of us. Can we do with the three of us? I know I just said that again, but
That's
that's
okay,
I just
'cause you
mean
like three.
You really mean it.
I mean it. Readings and EVPs. Like, why don't you and I give readings on each other, or we'll give a reading to Mike, or you know.
And record it.
I'm always up for someone to give me a me.
Yes.
And
She tries this every week, mind you.
I know, nobody gives me a reading. Way. No, but yeah.
Give it a shot.
When Steph and I when it was my first time table tipping, it was just Steph and I started picking up on stuff with Steph, which I didn't know. I mean, and that's the thing, like being as close as we are, there's still a lot of family history that we aren't aware of,
Right.
and you know, so.
Starts to come through.
It
Anytime.
does.
But I always use you as an
You
example
do.
because during our table tipping session, I was communicating with my dad who passed, and I was like asking relationship questions, okay? And Steph goes, "Tiff, would you talk to your dad about your relationships?" And I said, "No way." And she's like, "Well, why do you think he's not going to answer you now? Because he wouldn't want to know
Right.
about anything to do with that." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's true too." So,
Yep, it's funny. We'll figure something
Yes.
out. I will plan something with you so that way we can get this itch.
scratched.
Oh, I was waiting for that.
What's going on here with your friend tonight?
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know. I need chocolate.
This is every day. Like this stuff
Every day
happens.
of-
You
Nobody
guys don't get to see
understands
this.
Understands it. That's why I communicate with animals, which makes me ask you.
Why? Because I'm part Wookiee?
I can't. That was awful. That was like a dying Chewie.
Chewbacca
Yeah.
doesn't sound like that.
He's more like a. That's even bad.
Let's just-
do you ever
let's just
get
stop.
besides like the bizarre, say horse yell? Do you ever get? Do you ever get like a fur baby? You know, like a cat or a dog?
It's getting personal.
We don't know what you're into, but us on this side of the room,
You're
not
talking
so
about
much.
recordings, right? Okay.
Let's hope so, because if
I
not,
really,
running.
I really don't.
Like, has anybody said,
animals?
that's my cat?
Yeah.
That's my cat, or that's my dog?
I think I may have captured my dog when he died, shortly after, in my house, and I caught a male. It was a male. Actually, you know what? Which is another good topic is, which I've done a few times. Is I put my recorder on, left the house, come back, and I hear EVPs talking to my dog. Spirits talking to my dog. So I got several files of that, and he would see these things because he'd be barking at them.
Right.
So, and what they would say is they would say things like, oh, look at the hound, which is what we call my dog, call him the hound. And he was just a little black dog, and you hear this female voice say, look at the hound. And you hear him go, "Arr," he growls.
Oh, that's
Because
awesome.
he's experiencing these things
Yeah.
while we're not at home. A child says, I'm scared of him. There's a man's voice who came in and said, hey there, and he barks.
This is with Chloe, the new
know.
one, the new puppy. This is why she barks.
Because she's seeing things.
You're
Believe
just
me,
hoping that that's why she barks that much.
sometimes, I bet it is. I bet someone's,
Seriously, she's
working her up.
Yeah,
I'm telling you.
yeah, and especially the young ones, they don't have.
I've
That's
recorded
why,
it.
Self-doubt
like, I
yet.
know when someone's in my house because my dog has certain barks, like playful bark, really, really, really mean bark, and then like a, what's that?
Yeah.
And it really scares me when that mean bark comes out, and I know there's nobody else in the
protective,
house.
yeah.
And it's funny because my husband had brought home sand from Normandy, and he brought home spirits with him. So I made him leave the sand outside. I wanted nothing to do with it. And I called him in the middle of an investigation. I think we were at Anne Marie's house, and I said, they're in the house. And he goes,
Oh, yeah, that's right.
He goes, how do you know? And I said, I just know they're in the house. And he's like, oh, that's funny, because Bianca, my little Maltese, says, he goes, she was just doing the mean bark down in the kitchen by herself. And I was like, yep, that's what I thought. So just they know.
Yeah.
They're really intuitive.
But
it's
So yes, somewhat.
good. That's what I want to know.
See, again, go around in circles. But yes, animals, I don't really pick up animals, but animals do interact with spirit.
Well, we do have to wrap it up.
Okay.
But I want to thank you again for
You're very
being a
welcome.
part of Spirit
was a good
Connections.
time.
And, I'm going to archive it, and that way you guys can definitely check out some of Mike's EVPs and check out his book.
EVP, Electronic Voice Phenomenon, Massachusetts Ghostly Voices.
And if you guys want to get in touch with Mike, you can get in touch with him.
My email is evpmike@yahoo.com.
Perfect. Now you're going to get the
Send me-
stalkers. That's
That's
usually
okay.
what happens.
It's all right.
But until next time, guys, thank you again for watching another fun-filled night at Spirit Connections, and we will see you next Tuesday, 7 p.m. Gobble, gobble. All right.